a child, doctor's appointments weren't all that scary. I had my parents with me doing all the talking, the paperwork, handling the finances. But then I turned 20 and in crisis because of a sudden flare-up, I suddenly had to explain all of my symptoms in my third language to strangers in white coats all alone. My name is Deanna. I'm 23 years old from Indonesia, and 3 years ago, I learned that I would live the rest of my life with an autoimmune condition called Graves' disease. At that time, I was an undergraduate student in Taiwan, so receiving that diagnosis while being so far away from my family felt really daunting. I also had a really rigorous academic and active social life to balance, so I didn't want to be defined by this disease that I newly had. I tried to hide it and take my medications in secret, but eventually, the sudden weight gain, the protruding eyes, the sudden flare-ups, and the restricted diet revealed my disease. Thankfully, though, I had a really wonderful support system. My friends, my classmates, and my professors, they were all very understanding of the secondary symptoms of brain fog, restlessness, and anxiety that I had from my condition. And I also had a really effective care-seeking procedure in Taiwan that made managing this disease a lot more bearable. But I'm aware that not all young people with autoimmune diseases are as fortunate as I am. In my home country, Indonesia, for example, we have a tiered health insurance system where you can only be covered if you start by seeking primary care doctors at local clinics, then slowly work your way up to a specialist. And for diseases that are hard to diagnose at first, like many autoimmune conditions, any delay would risk abrupt, severe to even life-threatening manifestations like in Rochelle's case, which we talked about in my previous video. And this is not to mention how the mental health implication of our condition is still very much a taboo topic in society. With all of this in mind, I would like to voice 3 demands for the government to better support and understand young people with autoimmune diseases. First, make autoimmune diagnostics and treatment more accessible. Lab tests, specialist consultations, medicines, and monitoring should all be covered and available without excessive administrative barriers. Furthermore, primary care clinicians should be provided with clearer clinical guidelines, screening tools, and referral criteria for broader autoimmune diseases. The Saludi program for earlier lupus detection is already a great start. Second, invest in autoimmune disease research and national data systems. This should not be targeted on finding new drugs, but on understanding why many young people are diagnosed late, which specific combinations of symptoms should trigger immediate specialist referral, as well as how we can improve access to medicines and diagnostic tests across different regions in the country. And lastly, build autoimmune support and awareness programs in both clinical and community settings. Provide routine mental health screening, subsidize access to psychologists, and fund public education campaigns and patient support groups. That will help address the stigma and social burden of living with a lifelong disease as a youth. Investing in our care means investing in the next generation of leaders. So let's make that a priority.